Hey everybody, what is up? This is Devin, LaVore, and
LaVore
coming at ya. You know, the first thing I want to bring up is this is kind of a new schedule for us, right?
It
I think
is.
we're averaging like once a week, and I kind of miss being in front of the camera as much as we normally are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not because we love being in front of the camera. Trust us, that's something we have in common. You can save the spotlight for. Oh, you thought I was going to high five you? Go ahead, you can have it. You can have what you thought you were going to have. But also, one of the things that I've learned is like you can't take because we just love encouraging people. We just love ministering. But even in the way God has us ministering is really weird and unorthodox. We like being face to face with people and all that. And the Lord's like, no, I don't want you to do that right now. And so you can't have what you do become who you are. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got to. It can't become your life. You know, God is your life, and whatever He's doing, and wherever the wind's blowing, and wherever He's going, that's your life. Mm-hmm. You know. And with that said, welcome to the channel.
Yes.
How about you do the intro? Do your good old-fashioned intro.
Well, we're so glad that you're here, and but like Devin was saying, just like our heart is that we can just encourage you guys in your walk with the Lord, and just as we share what He's been doing in our own lives, and we also give a huge thank you to everyone who continues to support us and what we're doing here, and just a huge thank you to all of you, because it's truly just deeply appreciated, and we just see it as coming from the hand of God. Yeah. And we are support based, so if you want to give to us, you can, and you can just click. We have a PayPal link below, and just click that. Yep. So you may continue on.
Well, I think we should go back to the beginning of week 20, right? Which is, I don't know the dates. Maybe I'll put it up there if I remember to do this. I'll be editing it, so I should remember.
Well, it's May 10th through the 16th.
Okay, yeah. So that was a Sunday, May 10th. Okay, so number 20 is God's been doing this numbers thing with us this whole year, with each of the numbers really corresponding to each of the numbers of the week corresponding to what that number means, right?
Well, especially since week 14. Prior to that, we
hadn't discerned it. We hadn't figured it out. Our eyes hadn't been open to it.
Yeah.
Right? And so so week 20 comes, and that's the week of redemption, And right away, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to make it about redemption or anything. I'm just going to see what the Lord has to say. He could be doing something totally different or whatever He has to say. And then at the end of the week, we'll be like, oh, yeah, that really was kind of about redemption or whatever. It doesn't matter, because that's how the Lord works, right? But right away on Sunday, He started talking about the redemption story, the redemption of the earth, redemption of man, and all that. And then we did a lot about all that past week, the week that you referenced, was about expectation of redemption. Because the number 20 also has to do with expectation as well, an expected end, which kind of lends itself into to number 21, which is distress or end of distress. You're either going into distress or you're coming out of distress. I feel like I'm going into it, but whatever. But the bottom line is, like, the Lord the whole week was just, I mean, in ways that would blow your mind, was just speaking to us about expect redemption. Expect it. Put it in your heart and just put a seal on it, put a stamp on it. Expect this. And He used a lot of Luke 24 and Acts chapter 1 and 2 to give us an idea of the level of expectation we should have. We're talking Holy Spirit coming down with a thunderous sound from heaven and filling the room, filling the house with just a miraculous display of His power unlike anything we've ever seen. Okay? And so we're pretty amped up. We are pretty amped up, man. We're excited. And then Saturday comes. And Saturday, it was like, I don't know what it was like. It was like the channel completely changed. And it went to complete silence from the Lord. Not necessarily complete silence, but it wasn't it was like the fire hydrant was on and we were getting blasted with, fireman Jesus. He was just hosing us down with all kinds of overflow of revelation and insight. And it was just amazing. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. And it was stopped, and it was almost like he wasn't even there, and the hose wasn't there. What happened to the fire truck? Where did everybody go? We were so wrapped up. And so I was like, okay. And not only that, but with the seeming or that felt like absence of the Lord, because the Lord's never absent.
Yeah.
But a lot of times our reality is based on our feelings, and we're dealing with how we feel. Mm-hmm. And those feelings are telling us the truth, which is really not the truth. Are you following me? Anyway, and so in the midst of that feeling like, what's going on? Like, in comes the enemy, in comes the doubt, in comes the wonderings, in comes the questionings, in comes the, oh no, all of that. And man, that was as heavy on Saturday. And right away, like about halfway through the day, I realized, oh my word, this is a test. Mm-hmm. I knew right away. And how did I even know? Well, by the grace of God, he just gives me the revelation. Yeah. He just shows me this teacher that's just walking through the classroom, silent, watching the kids take their tests. And I knew right then, I was like, that's what's going on. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm crying out to you and I'm saying, Lord, what's going on? What's happening? I don't understand, blah, 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 blah. And you're like not saying anything. I can literally, not literally, but I can almost see you like literally not saying anything. Just, And I'm like, oh, it's a test. What was the test? After you've heard everything, after you've experienced everything you've experienced, after the encounters with the Lord, after him showing himself strong on your behalf, what are you going to do when you don't feel that? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do when it's not fire hydrant revelation? Whoa, roller coaster ride. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? See, that's the test. And it's like, and the question on the test, it's really just an essay question. Yeah. Are you still going to believe what I shared with you and showed you and told you? Are you still going to believe, or are you going to start to lose your hope? You're going to start to lose your joy and thus start to lose your strength and start to lose your faith. Is that going to happen? See, we have to go through these tests. Mm-hmm. And we feel like, we've been on this mountaintop thing, since the 29th? The 29th mountains. Yeah. Anyway. And it's like, I don't know whether we're going to be up here for 40 days or whatever, or what the time frame is. But it definitely feels like that. It definitely feels like a 40 days and 40 nights. Moses was on the mountain. 40 days and 40 nights. The LaVores were on the mountain. Yeah. And in the midst of that, God's just been doing some amazing things. But then here comes this test, and it hit on Saturday. I was like, okay, I felt a little comfort because I knew it was a test. But man, Sunday was the same thing. And even today, as we're filming this video, there's just this sense of like, the same vibe, you know what I mean? The same sense of like you're being tested. And it's like, what I've learned today was just like, are you going to come up? Are you going to continue to believe? Because that's the question. Are you going to continue to believe? And it's like, because I was kind of wholeheartedly, secretly hoping that that thing that God was telling us to expect in the redemption and all right. I thought it was going to happen, I was kind of hoping. I didn't put much like heart investment in it, but I tell you what, you only need a mustard seed of heart investment in something you hope is going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, you're going to get a multiplied mustard seed of disappointment. You know what I mean? It's not going to be just a mustard seed of disappointment. Mm-hmm. It's just going to come back to you multiplied. Like, oh man, I was really hoping. And I felt like the two on the road to Emmaus when we were hoping that Jesus would do we were hoping, but now, you know what I mean? But now what's the point? The week of redemption is over and we're beyond redeeming. We're on to a week of 21, the end of our distress, and man, we're distressed. But if this is going to be anything like last week, the distress is going to carry over into 22, and you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so you go through all those different things. So then what is the purpose of the test? Well, it's like when you're refining gold or you're refining silver or you're refining precious metals. It's to get out all the dross. You know, so many times when the Lord's moving, he's stirring things up. He's stirring up the excitement. He's stirring up the waters. You know, we want him to just come and walk on our water with a miracle. We don't want him to come and stir up the mud. You know, don't do that. You know what I mean? And it's like, what God's trying to do there is trying to get out the best quality of faith that he can get from us, right? He's trying to get us to not give in to our feelings, not give in to our questions and wonderings and doubts. That's what he said when he came, when last week, one of the references that he used quite a bit is he came in his resurrected form behind closed doors, and he just appeared to them. And he was just like, hey guys, how's it going? And they freaked out. They were like, it's a ghost. And so they're like, no, I'm not a ghost. Come feel my hands. And you ghosts don't have these things. And they were still wondering. And he was like, why are you questioning and doubting and wondering in your heart? If it's me, if it's really me standing here, listen, you guys got anything to eat? Give me some fish. Let me show you. A fish doesn't eat. A ghost does not eat fish. Here, see? And then he began to preach and teach about the kingdom and truth and reality. And it's just like, that's what the Lord does when he comes into our lives. He always shares his heart, because what else is he going to share? What else is he going to do? If it's about relationship, what else is he going to do but share his heart and say, hey guys, this is where I'm at, and this is where you're at, and this is kind of what I'm looking for. I kind of gave you the secret to the test there. Kind of gave you the test answer, but you know what I mean? It's like the Lord wants us to just continue to believe. And the problem is, you know, a lot of times we're very aware of our personal issues, and sometimes we can be on top of them and feel good. But the bottom line is, there's still issues. And then when those issues pop up, sometimes we don't do so well with them. You know what I mean? Especially when the exciting week that we had last week, oh my gosh, it was crazy. And the thing of it is, a lot of these weeks, since week 14 or 15 or something like that, there's been a manifestation of what God is saying. You know, like the week of release, we were literally released from one room to go into the room of promise, so to speak, at the other hotel we were staying at before it shut down. And it's just been like that, been very consistently like that. You know, week 15 was a new direction, and then we ended up having to come back here. Week 16 was a week of love, and then we ended up getting that other room for basically, it was an amazing deal. And so a lot of things have happened, but it hasn't been that every single week. I'd say 85% of the time, it's been here's the word, and here's a physical manifestation to prove that this is me speaking. Well, in this week, so we were in the week 20, we were kind of looking for that, you know. But there was another week. What was it? The week of the grand exposure, week 17. There was no there was no physical manifestation there, because we were on the table and all of our hearts were getting just the grand exposure of the heart was happening. And that's kind of been a very similar thing that's been going on the past couple days, but it hasn't been a grand exposure, even an exposure. It's been more of a testing, like, all right, here's the challenge, here's the test. The octagon door is closed. It's just you and your opponent. You've been trained all week on what I want you to know. You've been trained all week on what I want you to believe. You've been trained all week on what I want you to expect and believe and be confident for and rejoice about. Now here's the test. It's a sense of like, I'm out. You know?
Yeah, and it's really kind of been a testing, you know, because with the week of grand exposure, for me, God was talking about like the doubt, and for you it's kind of like the fear.
Ooh,
and that was really what that was
huge.
about. But I really feel like this moment in time is really about a testing having to do with the hope, and really even how to handle grief with the Lord, because that's really what's been stirred up, is this, you know, when you have a deep longing, can be a deep sorrow, an underlying grief, a distress of like not seeing that come yet and still waiting and waiting and waiting. But then the Lord is like, in that waiting, can you still have hope? Can you still rise above that deep sorrow and have hope in me for what I'm going to do.
As I'm getting in your heart and I'm stirring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I'm the one stirring up the grief.
Yeah.
It's like he's not stirring up the grief, but he's stirring up the thing that's causing you to grieve. It's like, Lord, I'm trying to get that to chill. Just let that lay. Don't touch that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, that right there, this thing right here, yeah, that right there. Oh, why don't you want me to touch this? You know, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And so really I feel like especially these last few days have really been that. It's like, God, I feel like, I mean, I know we're like in yesterday and today we started into week 21, but I feel like it's again like this grand exposure kind of time but it has everything to do with just that heart sickness, that deep longing.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, man, Lord, you are just really pressing in hard on that. And it's just like coming up, and but then at the same time, he's presenting himself as like, hey, come to me, come to me. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is hard because yes, I want to come to you, but there's pain involved with it, and just this because of that deep longing. And it's just like, aren't you, I thought by now you would have come.
It's like, Lord, I can't see you. I have got a clock taped to my face. It's going, when is this going to happen?
Yes.
When? I thought, well, I guess I got the timing right, but can you take the clock off my face, please?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so it's just, kind of been in this like, it's almost like a wrestling match, with just like, okay, there is that deep heart grief, but then at the same time, it's like the Lord saying like, hey, come to me. I'm here to, help you. But I was telling Devin earlier this morning, I was like, it feels like, because we talked about video, I forget, it was probably a long time ago, but the weight of the weight.
Oh, yeah.
And how waiting can just feel like a heavy weight.
Sure.
And I was like, I feel like the Lord sometimes is like, you're bench pressing this weight of waiting, but then it's like you're at this point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is so heavy. I'm about to drop this, and then the Lord's like in your face, and he's just like, you still have the weight, but he's like, hey, so you want to talk about something?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, what do you want to talk about? This would be so fun. And like, he's coming with this great joy.
You're bench pressing your max weight. Yeah. You're not doing well. No. And he's just like, hey, how's it going? Yeah. It's like, would you shut up? Would you help me?
It's like, well, if you want, you could get up and let's go over here. And it's like, I can't get up. Yeah. And so it's like, how does your heart handle like that? The weight of the weight, while at the same time God's inviting you into this just relationship with him, and he wants to continue to just really have fun and joy with you every day. And it's like, well, how do you do that? Like, it's really difficult and really hard to be in a heart place of distress, and yet continue to carry on with great hope and joy for what the Lord is going to do. And so for me, I was definitely in that place this morning, but the Lord he's good, because he came in, he did encourage, and he was just like, you are going to have joy. And it's like, okay, I'm going to just hold on to that. I'm going to hold on to the fact that you're saying there is joy. Joy is coming in the morning. I don't know when, but I know that it's coming. And so through this all, it's like the Lord is like teaching really, and through testing. It's funny how that works. You get taught as you're tested, but it is. You learn as you're being tested. And it's like I'm teaching you how to still have hope, how to still continue to move forward. And I think for me, even how to share my heart with the Lord in a way that isn't
accusatory.
Accusatory.
Which you have done amazing. I'm serious. This whole time you've been on the mountain. Excuse me, while I encourage my wife. You've been amazing. Seriously, you've been amazing. Like, I mean, that's been an issue, right? This whole time. Issue. It's like, well, if this was God, he wouldn't do this, and he wouldn't do this, and if he loved me, and then he loved, if this, and if this, and if this, then God would this, right? So no, I'm gonna hold him hostage, and I'm putting him on the witness stand. And God's like, okay, you can. You can bind me up. Are we going to be together? Oh, okay, cool. That's fine. You know what I mean? It's like Superman in handcuffs. Like, sure, I'm doing it for you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really hold me, but
Yeah.
And so it's like, you've been really amazing. You know, you've really seen some overcoming in that area. I don't know if you realize that, but I mean, you really have. You've really overcome. You've really been able to share your heart a lot, and it's becoming who you are. And so when the Lord sees that, He's going, that's exactly what I've been looking for. That's it right there. I'm not removing the day of trouble. I'm just going to be with you in the day of trouble. And now when we're in the day of trouble, we're in it together.
Yeah.
Our intimacy grows, and instead of tearing apart, it grows together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so continue. You guys can come back in.
But yeah, so that's really, I feel like that is an area that God has really just been strengthening me in, and for me just really learning how to communicate what's going on inside without it being a clashing thing with the Lord.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things the Lord shared with me this morning was, like, he gave me this vision of Himself sitting in this chair, and it was almost like He was in a daycare or something, and there was a ton of kids, and they were just all running around, just kind of doing their own thing, but He's sitting there the whole time just wanting to engage with whoever might want to engage with Him. And I felt like the Lord was like, that's a picture of kind of like how He is with His people, you know, especially in a time of prosperity. When they've got all these toys and gadgets and fun, cool things to do, they're into those fun, cool toys and gadgets. They're into the land of milk and honey, and they're really into that milk and that honey and that grain and that new wine. They're really into it, and it kind of becomes their life. And then He's like, I told you that was going to happen. That's why I told you, don't forget me, so that wouldn't happen. You know? And par for the course, a few come to Him and engage with Him because they value Him more than the toys in the room. But a lot of them are not even aware that He's there. They're so wrapped up in their toys and just in their own little world that they're creating through their toys, and they're playing and all that. But so He was like super sad, but at the same time, it was weird. Only God could do this. He was super sad, but then there was a part of Him that was just overjoyed to just be there and have hope that maybe somebody will come, and you know what I mean? And I'm like, but Lord, you know everything. It's like you're waiting and you don't know. But that's a whole nother video. But it just showed me a picture, the picture of the Father's heart, right? And that He's just waiting to engage with the kids. He wants to play with them. He wants to be with what they're doing, you know? You can see that with grandparents a lot. They're sitting there and they're just loving watching what's going on, but the kids aren't trying to go to grandma or grandpa. You know, they're trying to play with each other, and that's normal. That's fine. But it's like with God, it's just like He just wants that engagement. He's like, this is why I created you, for the engagement, but you're engaged in something else. Now, the something else, you know, using myself, as an example, I like to play like Sim City. I like to research supercars. I like to do all those things, but those things don't have me. You know what I mean? those are just things I like to do. And then the Lord's always with me in it. I'm like, oh Lord, you want to do this? Let's do this. It's different to like, hey, Dad, come, I'm over here and play with my toys with me. He loves that. He just wants that engagement, right? And I felt like the Lord showed me also, now this is going to be interesting if we can tie them together. During this time of testing, He showed me like what it was like when He showed up. We've been listening to this song, There is a King by Elevation Worship, and toward the end, Isaiah Templeton, he comes in with the question, what would you do if He walked into the room? Right? I'm sure some of you are like, ooh, amen. I love that song. Anyway, but it was like, this is a picture of what it was like when like in Luke, Jesus walked into the room, they freaked out. And they had questions and doubts and wonderings. That's what they did when He walked into the room. When the nation of Israel was delivered from Egypt and God came down on the mountain, they were freaked out. That's what happened then when He walked in the room. And so Him coming caused the the top of the mountain to burn with fire, and all this smoke was created as a result, and there was this loud booming sound, and I think there was even some trumpets or something going on there, but it was intense. So intense was the scene that Moses himself was basically like, oh, I am terrified. I'm freaking out here. This is crazy. But then it says something super significant. It says, in the midst of all that, Moses drew near through the darkness to where God was.
Yeah.
And when he drew near to where God was, do you know what he found? He found that God sitting on his seat, just waiting to be engaged, waiting to engage his people. That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
But they were like, no. Now see, the Lord said, I came like this to test the people's hearts, to see, do they want just the milk and honey? Do they want just the promises, or do they want the one who made the promise? You know what I mean? Is that what do you really want? What if I'm bringing you to this place of testing to see, what do you want? Do you want just the promise of God, or do you want the God of the promise? I know that's been said a lot. It's been preached to death and all that stuff, but it's still a true thing just because we've heard it 100 times. It's like, because a lot of times that's what happens. We can idolize the promises of God. Well, how can you do that? Well, because you just want God's stuff and what he can do for you, which is what happened to the nation of Israel. You know, they didn't want to have anything to do with God himself. I mean, they liked him and they appreciated him, but it's like, whoa, that's too much, that's too close. Just God, you talk to him, we'll do whatever he says. And God's like, no, you're not. I'm right here. You're not going to listen to me. You don't want me, and I'm right here. You're not going to listen to me if I speak through another person. And sure enough, that didn't happen, did it?
Yeah.
And so, when God shows up in our lives and begins stirring up desires, he is doing that.
Yeah.
And it's causing grief and all that. That's like God coming in and the stirring up of the desire and the excitement and the hope and the, ooh, this is gonna happen. This is clearly the Lord showing up. Clearly the Lord. But the disappointment begins to stir. There's a dark cloud that forms from the Lord, from his spirit coming in. There's a dark cloud that forms around our heart. And it's got a lot of questions. There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of wondering. There's a lot of, oh, but Lord, remember what happened then. And this is, oh, what are we, is this what's going to happen here? Because that's what happened last time. And we thought this and see, now you're surrounded by this cloud, and it's from the Lord coming in and stirring things up. And it's like you got the clock taped to your face because you put it there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, God didn't put that there. You did. And it's just like, but all of that. And what a lot of times what happens when we get stirred up and then the enemy comes in and goes, yeah, to everything negative. Yeah. You are going to be stuck here forever. Yeah, you're never going to get all this provision you're believing for, that's never going to happen. All this, that house, you don't need, blah, blah, all the stuff that comes up, you know. A lot of times you have two decisions. There's a test. A lot of times that stuff, it causes you to back away. Am I right? It causes you to back up and be like, oh, it causes you to shrink back. You know, Hebrews chapter 10 says, have faith. And those with faith, they go forward. Those who get full of fear, they start to back up. Trust me, I got like 17 PhDs in fear. So if you need to talk to someone, I'm here for you. And it's like, it just causes you to back up.
Yeah.
But one thing I do have with fear is that I can be very afraid, but I keep going forward. You know, and because you do that, when you get in a habit of, okay, I'm afraid, I'm going to trust the Lord. That's what David said. When I'm afraid, I'm going to trust the Lord. Moses, he was afraid, he trusted the Lord, and he went through the darkness. You've got to go through your disappointments. You got to go through all the crazy stuff. I mean, I tell you what, Michelle, you can testify. Sunday, I was overwhelmed. Was I not? I was blanketed. But I was like, I don't care. You know, I got some dishes to do. I got some laundry to do. And while I'm doing it, I am going to talk to the Lord. Okay, he's not talking to me at all. Okay, fine. I'm going to still continue to talk to him. And because the darkness comes in and it begins to cloud and smoke and mirror the image of God and who he really is. And you begin to believe the wrong stuff about him. Whoa, this God is scary, and he is angry, and he's freaking me out. He's about to just destroy all of us. We're sorry. Oh God, you didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
You don't even need to repent of anything, but you're sorry. You know what I mean? It's like no, you're missing it. It's like that physical example is a sign of what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
You're freaked out with all this stuff going on, but I just stood my ground. I was like, no, I know who you are. I know who you are to me. You are a good, good Father. That's who you are. Do we need to sing a song about it? Anyway, it's like, that's just who you are. And I'm just going to trust that. You know what? I'm going to be okay. Like Bill Johnson said, I'm going to be okay with the mystery. I'm going to be okay with the unanswered questions. I'm going to be okay with things, because that's how the enemy comes in. He's like, you need to answer every question, and you need to not have any mystery, and that's impossible. He's trying to make you experience or create an impossible reality. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to be okay with it, because this I know. You know, you are a God of your promise, and you are a God who saves. You are in the midst of us, and you are rejoicing over us with singing, you know. And sometimes in the midst of that, I don't even have stuff like that to say. I just like, you know, the enemy comes, or my wonderings and my questionings and my doubts pop up. I don't have this specific opposite answer from the word to say. Sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what to do with that, so I'm just going to be, I know it's not true, but I don't really remember at the moment, and the Holy Spirit's not even bringing up in the moment the truth that defeats this lie. I just know it's a lie, and man, it feels real, but it's like, I know it's not, so I'm just going to go to the Lord, like, Lord, this is what's going on in my head, and I'm just going to give that to you. See, and when you do that, that's you pressing through the darkness to where God is, pressing through the darkness that's, you know, clouding you all up in here, you know, and trying to get you to see God as, you know, listen, if I came to you through smoke, I'd probably look scary myself. You know, if a dog comes to you through smoke and you know, magic mirrors, he could look like a giant wolf, and it could be a little chihuahua. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's what they're going to say about the enemy at the end. It's like, this is the one? Yeah. Him? He's the one that's caused all the trouble all this time? You know what I mean? So that is the test. Are you going to continue to believe? You know, and the Lord tests his faithful. He tests. It says he tests, disciplines, even scourges. Scourge means to whip. It means to spank. Basically, it means to, that's what he does with the people he is wanting to entrust with the lives of others. Like the Navy SEALs, they go through hell. Why? To become saviors. People who know how to be in crazy intense situations, but be completely controlled and focused and know what they're doing and have their wits about them, so to speak. You know, a lot of times as Christians, we walk around without our wits about us. We're just tossed to and fro by every wind of doctrine and stuff. Oh, this person came out with a new prophetic word. Oh, now this person came out with a new prophetic word. Oh, now this person came out with a new prophetic word. And it's like, dude, what is God saying to you? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so God takes us through these things. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're being tested and there's crazy stuff going on around you, death may be going on around you. I mean, like physical death, you know? I mean, just crazy things happening that are stirring you up. Just difficulties, you know, because the COVID-19 thing has been a difficulty in and of itself, but there are greater difficulties, and of course there are lesser difficulties, but these things have a way of affecting our heart and mind to create an atmosphere where God can really test us. Look at what happened to Lauren Cunningham. He's starting out doing YWAM, and it's clearly the Lord, and then him and his wife get in an accident, and it's so bad her entire skull is just split open. He could see her brain. And the Lord said, so, do you still want to serve me? It was like, what? How could you ask, how could the Heavenly Father, all loving, merciful, ask that kind of question in that moment? And because it was the perfect moment to ask that question. And it's like, do you still love me? Do you still want to be with me? Because I didn't prevent this thing from happening. Do you still trust me? Yes. And then she was fine. He was like, okay, pray for her. And he prayed for her, and it was like, she was like, ugh. she came back to life right then. Because he was like, I think she was dead right then.
Wow.
But God just like gave her life.
Wow.
Right then, and she lived. I mean, I don't know what her health condition is right now, but I mean, she went on to live like another 40 some years. That was a long time ago, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time ago. It was at the beginning of YWAM. That was before YWAM was a name anywhere, you know. And so it's like, in the midst of these things that we don't understand, in the midst of the mystery, in the midst of God showing up in our lives in a way that we don't expect or even like, and maybe even terrifies us, and we're going, what is going on, Lord? And you just have a sense in your spirit that this is the Lord moving, because that's what we've been sensing, right?
Yeah.
These past couple of days, this is the Lord, but man, this is not what I was expecting after what we've gone through in week 20. I'm like, this is not what I was thinking. And I almost feel like the Lord's like, that's okay. I'm stirring up the distress that's already there. So, you know, I'm putting my forthcoming accomplishments in context.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting ready to overcome, all of this. But I needed to stir it up so you can see what it is, because you guys are always just like hiding from it, you know? I want you to see it. I want you to feel it. I want you to embrace the longing. Because when God is sitting in his chair in the daycare vision, he's not hiding from the pain of the rejection of all those people not wanting to come to him. He's embracing it. But he has hope, and he's like, that's what I'm trying to do with you guys. Make it so that you understand these things the way I do, and see it and experience it the way I do, you know?
Yeah. Having that hope.
Yeah.
In the longing.
Yep.
And I liked what you were saying about just like going through the darkness, and it's like, I think for me that's really where the Lord has been teaching me, is how to go through the darkness, and
to find his smiling face, and
not either not even want to go into the darkness, or going into the darkness but getting lost in it, because I think that's kind of what ends up happening, or has in the past. It's like, okay, I'm going into this, but I start getting swirled around in the darkness, and things start
in the wanderings,
and the wanderings and the questioning. It's like, okay,
well,
how can you go through it and really get to the Lord and his heart, and to meet with him, and a lot of that is for me has been learning how to share and express like what I'm going through, but without all of the accusation, and being okay with, like, you know, there are going to be things that I just don't know, and I'm not going to know. They're going to be a mystery, and all of that. But I just really like that, because there can be some dark and stormy times when you're in the test, and it's, you know, it's like, well, it shouldn't be too surprised. It's like, if you're in possibly, you know, it's like the Lord, I think, he's been, you know, when we first were getting the mountain visions, and coming up on the mountain, there was also all the 40s connected to it, and 40 is always the time of testing, and so it's like, it's just funny, because it's easy for us to forget, you know, it's so easy to forget. You're just going along, and it's like, oh yeah, you did say that like a few days ago or a week ago, and just, you know, just left my mind. Oh yes, we are in a time of testing, and a time where God is just, again, purifying hearts and all of that. And so it's like, you know, just continue to keep going and keep believing and keep hoping, and it's like we can really, you know, I think for me today, it's also like we can really start learning, and what you said about his heart. You know, God really is revealing his heart, even when maybe he's doing a lot of work on our own hearts. Yeah. But he's like showing us, like, this is really who I am. I feel pain. I feel the rejection, but I also know I have great hope and joy all at the same time. And it's like, which is kind of just, you know, crazy to think about.
I know.
It's like, how does that work? But I think that's kind of really what the Lord is showing. He's like, here's how to have great hope. Here's how to have joy, even in these times of great pain and sorrow. And so much of it is going through the darkness so we can meet with the Lord, and he can give us the hope and the joy and that satisfaction that our hearts are desiring, and you know, and he can really just help us with the waiting and the longing, and And
And he is the prize. He is the reward that's beyond. Because you got to look at that smoking cloud that comes as a result of him showing up and working in our hearts. It's like a ring. It's almost like a donut. It's like a ring of smoke. You will go through it, but then you will come out into this completely different place.
Yeah.
And that place is where he is. And he's like, I'm here. Hey, I'm here. And it's like, whoa, man, you showing up created a completely opposite effect of what I'm seeing and experiencing with you as I've pressed in. And he was like, that's right, because reward is for the faithful. Reward is for those who diligently seek. Reward is for those who diligently obey the voice of the Lord. Reward is for those who press through and press in to find where I am. Not to be. That's why Jesus lost a lot of people, because they weren't pressing in to find out, who are you? You're doing all this crazy miraculous stuff. Who are you? They're like, nope, I just like the fish and the loaves. I just thank you for cleansing my leprosy. Thank you. That 1 out of 10 said thank you. The rest, they went on about their lives and their business. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, the ones who press in, they get the reward of knowing who he is. And how can you not have the promises when your heart is attached to the promiser? So like Zechariah 9:12 says, come, let us return to the stronghold of prosperity, you prisoners of hope, because the Lord's getting ready to restore to you double. But you know what? The restoring double is almost like, thank you. As long as I have you, I have infinite. You can't put a number on God himself and what he will or will not do for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And we've actually seen that a lot. At least I have, the 9:12. That's
the 9:12.
That reminder
Zechariah
of
9:12. Yeah.
The return. So it's like, so I just think, like, overall, did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
No, that's pretty much it.
So
that's the gist.
That's the gist of kind of what the Lord's been doing from this last week into this week. And, it's just this time of testing, but time of going through the darkness and continuing to have hope, be prisoners of hope.
But expect redemption.
Exactly.
Acts chapter 2. Pentecostal redemption of God showing up in your life in some sort of way that's going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
Twice. I'm serious. That's the double, right?
Yeah. Yes. And and just know that God, he really is showing his heart in this time, and he really wants his people to know who he is. Yeah. And that he's right there with you. To go with you through things, and to not be afraid to just go to him and share with him your heart, and even what you're thinking, even if you don't think you should share it with him. It's like he already knows, so it's not a surprise. He's not shocked. Yeah. But just that, you can just.
He's not disappointed or angry at you because you might feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
Or are going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
And you feel the way you feel about what you're going through. He's like, bring it to me. Let's talk about it. Let's.
Yeah. Come and just engage with him.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really all that we have for you guys. And so I just pray that you guys are encouraged and blessed by what the Lord is speaking and saying and doing in this time. Yeah. And just be expectant for just the good things of the Lord and the great joy that he has set before you, because that joy is coming, and he is going to, this is a time of hope. This is, God showed us that, and like this, especially this particular quarter, God is like, I am really speaking hope to my people, and I'm stirring up their hearts to have hope in me, and to restore that deep-seated hope that cannot be taken away, that can't be moved or shaken. Yep. And so sometimes the Lord is going to have to move and shake you so that seed can be planted deep and rooted in you, of the great hope that he is trying to sow into our hearts. Yeah. So until next time, guys,
We'll be here on the mountain.
Yeah, and we will see you later.
Bye, guys. See you.